All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this here because our guest tonight is somebody I've wanted on here for several weeks on Sportswire Radio. And I'm going to tell you why here shortly because he is one of what I like to call one of the cornerstones of dominant breakout wrestling. How they've morphed in this little small backyard wrestling company to being on the verge of where the big boys play. And he has been one of these guys that's kind of been right on the edge here in DBW in their world title picture. And he's had probably one of the most intense personal feuds this year in wrestling with the Blaze, Ace Christian. He's going to talk about that. Plus, where do we go with here from him? And he's also done a number of different things in places like VTW. We're going to see him in a new company coming up. Plus, who knows what else he does because he is one of those people that you like to call a vlogger. He needs no further introduction, but because it's his first time, he's going to get that introduction that everybody else has gotten on Sportswire Radio. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show. They call him the Mauler. Brandon Castelli. My friend, how you doing?
That was a fantastic introduction. I don't know if anything will ever be able to top that. I'm doing fantastic.
I don't think DBG has done those for you in DBW.
He might be a little upset with me still for knocking him on his ass at one of the last shows. So
well, that's why I don't want to be in the ring. You know, I don't want to be in the ring actually. Because I get that you're gonna obviously have those different things, and obviously we have people already tuned in. I'll say hello to these people in a second. And first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I obviously love talking about all things related to DBW and Dominant Breakout Wrestling, which you can check them out on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling. But my friend, I mean, I have to ask this question. I'm going to get to some new places you're going to be at in a little while as well. But
sure,
where do we go from here with you? Because, you know, these last couple of months, as I said at the top, you and the Blaze, Ace Christian, were almost kind of, I think, one of the most intense feuds here that I've seen in the wrestling scene this year. And it looked like you and him were on this collision course. I thought what was everything that was leading up here to what we saw at the last show, you were going to be the guy that was going to be facing Mr. Judgment on September the 23rd. But yet, here we are, and after your promo, you said a couple of different things that we saw in DBW's YouTube page that was released a few days back. So for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio and the DBW universe, where do we go from here with the Mauler, Brandon Castelli?
You know, Tom, I'll be honest, I also thought that I had Ace in the bag, and I thought that I was going to be the one punching my ticket to face Mr. Judgment at First World War for the World's Championship that's eluded me for the past couple of years. Thought I had it myself. I sort of stacked the deck a little bit in my favor and had my fiance Nix jump in and help me out a little bit there. But looks like Ace was one step ahead of me and had some friends of his own.
Nah. I heard of some of those friends.
I know one of them's been on here a couple times.
Yes, he has. He's probably out drinking a beer right now, probably watching this. So if you want to say something to him, certainly go ahead and do it.
Roland, when I find you, you'll get yours. But I digress. Where do we go from here? I mean, it's still hard to say. I put a lot into it, and the last couple days I really took time to reflect, isolated myself and tried to think, what could I do? How do I get back to the top of the ladder? How do I get back to the world title contention? And I have some ideas. I can't divulge everything.
Don't do it here on Sportswire, because I always tell people all the time, whether it's my athletes, whether it's the wrestlers, the coaches, I say, whatever you do, please don't say it here, because God forbid they say, Tom Bryce, it's your fault. Tom Bryce, you're the guy that let him say whatever he said, and then it turns out to be a whole, keg of worms. So my advice would be, Brandon, don't say it on here. Yeah, don't say it on here, Brandon, would be my advice. So
all right, I won't divulge anything, but I'm going to take down some roadblocks first, and then I'm going to get back to the World Championship.
Okay.
There's a few loose ends that I need to tie up first.
Understood. I understand that.
Things I did not consider obstacles and issues now have presented themselves.
Sure. I could get that. But, I find it interesting that you talked about the world title and how it's eluded you. And it's obviously something that we have to talk about, because yesterday my guest obviously is in the same spot as you, and he's got himself into the world title situation. He hasn't won the title, but he got himself the match. And he had basically kind of had the same career. He's kind of built himself up and put himself there, and you were building up to this moment. You've had a world title shot before, no question. But if you looked at the last few months, you put everything into being the number one contender, and yet we fell short. So, mentally, that's got to be a lot to process in going for, where you clearly were building yourself to be the guy to get that shot at Mr. Judgment, and yet here we are, and we're kind of talking about exactly. So, mentally, how are you doing right now?
Mentally, I'm not all there, but I was never really all there to begin with. But
well, I wasn't going to say that on air, because you're the Mauler. You could maul me at any given time. You put that mask on, and God help me. So I wasn't going to say that to you.
I'll maul you, Tom. You're cool, but maybe some other people. But yeah, I definitely say that this has been a pretty big blow. After the match, I was definitely besides myself. I had to have Nick's sort of help me to the back, sort of comfort me there, because like you were saying, but also, I've put everything into challenging for the world championship. This is the end goal. This is my life. I've been in DBW now since 2018, and I like to call it my home promotion. This is where I've really cut my teeth and had some really marquee matches, feuds, and everything. And it's slipped out of my grasp. 2020, I failed to capture it. 2022, I failed again. And it looks like 2023 is the same. So it's definitely frustrating, but I'm way too stubborn to give up, and I'm going to keep trying and attacking it at all angles. And I know it's the definition of insanity, but
well, listen, you can't quit. I have a wrestler that's coming on the show in a few weeks out in the UK, Bentley, who's basically, we've called him the Lex Luger of UK wrestling. He's had title shot after title shot. He even held the title for like 5 minutes. He was basically the British version of Yokozuna and lost the title 5 minutes later. And he's been called the almost man, the Lex Luger, as I said, of UK wrestling. And he's kept going, and he just won 2 Rumbles in a span of 2 weeks. So you can't give up. But I'll ask him the same questions that I've asked you, because you're kind of right now the almost man of DBW. You've been there. You've been this close. You've got the look. I look at you. You should be a world champion. You've got the look. You've got the girl. You've got the size. You've got the ring ability. You got all the 5 tools to be a world champion. So do you think maybe going forward now, you talk about insanity, but from what I see, maybe you got to try a different course. Maybe you have to look in the mirror and you tried one way, it didn't work. So now you try something else. I mean, talk to me about that. I know it's still a lot to process because literally this just happened literally 2 weeks ago. But the point
True.
is, I mean, you have to try something else because you've been there. You can't think about those moments that you had, whether it was the Scorpion Assassin and you faced for the title or anybody else. So, I mean, talk to me about some of that.
That's a good point. Actually, you brought that up against Scorpion the Assassin. It was 3 attempts for the World Championship, Scorpion being the last one. You're right, though. I guess I should possibly strategize and see if there is another route I could go to challenge for the World Championship. Maybe I've been doing it wrong. Maybe I've been letting my emotions get the better of me. You know, I kept getting distracted with Ace Christian and ego, and maybe that's the reason why.
Did you overlook Ace? Did you overlook him? Did you think, well, you know, he's this kid. Sure, he's been a world champion, but he's been an underdog. He's been the guy that the fans get behind. You looked at him. You look at what you've done. Maybe you thought about the big show prior and where both of you guys were kind of moved on here into this moment where it kind of led to where we went in terms of the whole gauntlet situation. You figured, okay, I'm the last guy to come into the gauntlet. That should be mine. I mean, did you overlook Ace Christian at all?
I can't say yes fully. I mean, in a way, I guess, because he did go up against Azrael, and
I know.
He's man. A Goliath. I mean,
yes.
I've faced him before, and I've been manhandled by him. I know he's definitely no easy opponent, and I guess I foolishly thought that he was a lot worse off than he was. He had a lot more in the tank. I know Ace. He's a machine. He's a workhorse. You know, he busts his ass off. He's also a former world's champion and has held pretty much every title in DBW, and his career can only go up. Anyways, that's all the credit I'll give him. But
yeah, listen, what he's done in the ring, he'll be in the chair.
Yeah. Oh, I know he will be.
He'll be in the chair, and I'm sure certainly he's going to be dealt with and some. But I'm concerned about where you go. And again, I look at you've been this guy right on the edge of the title picture these past several years. You've been in this company 5 years. You've done a lot. You've been in main events. You've been in some of the most intense feuds, most memorable feuds in this company's history. In fact, you're really one of the cornerstones of the company. You know, if I were to look at, let's say, as we were saying a few days ago, the Mount Rushmore of DBW, you may or may not be there, but you are a guy that has seen the company grow from where it was to where it is now, but you don't have the prize that the people would want to, you know, see that are going to be coming in, all these new viewers, these new subscribers on YouTube. You don't have that chance to get that title. I mean, you got to want to take it out on people. You know, I wouldn't, you know, this would be my advice. I wouldn't want to get in your way right now. You got to use the tools that have been provided for you. So to give you any advice, now again, you've got Knicks, you're the guy in the ring, but for you to go forward, which we're going to talk a lot about here tonight, you've got to go and use what you've got and take it out on the people. Remember this, take it out on the people that prevented you from where you'd like to be at World War in the company's biggest show in the history, in that main event that you're not there at.
Tom, I know I said it before, but I'm really starting to like you. You're starting to speak my language. Take it out on the people. That's really good. If I have to, I mean, I'll take apart the referees, the officials,
I seen you do that in the past.
Fans. If I have to, I'll go through everybody in that building.
All right. Well, you know what? I have a lot of comments here, and I apologize to people. I kind of wanted to see what's on the mind of Brandon. We wanted to get to know him for a little bit. So we're going to come back to that. But I first of all want to say hello to some people. Skulls the Soul Hunter from Riverside, California, who just got through Hurricane Hillary, that's with one L, not two L's, says, welcome to the show.
Thanks
It
for
looks
having me.
like here somebody says you have the best look and gives you a woo, and also says I'm his biggest fan. So we say
She
hello
is indeed, yes.
to that individual. So we certainly wish them the best and glad that you have fans out there. That voice guy says I'm watching you, Brandon. So somebody's watching you. You know who this person is?
Oh, I know who that is.
Okay, well, I'll
We
leave that
talked
at that.
about previously who I knocked on his ass.
Oh, well, we'll certainly we'll leave that as a cue. One of the coolest people to bounce ideas off of. Appreciate that tuning in. Yeah, he's awesome. The Bitcoin billionaire himself. Speaking of people who are out of DBW, obviously the former Hub City champion, Mr. Wakefield himself says the legend himself, Brandon Castelli, also the best couple of DBW. Certainly,
Appreciate that. Thank you.
there we go. There, one of your fans agrees that you might be in the best couple on DBW. So, and I'm glad that our company here, DBW, is here, and you can check them out on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, the Mauler, Brandon Castelli, and exclamation points. Daniel Banner from the UK was up at like 1:20 in the morning. Good evening, gents.
My God.
Let me come up here to Mr. Judgment, the
Oh.
man that you wanted to have that opportunity in the company's biggest show ever, to have that chance to try to take away his title. And he says, it's because of you. I have to now destroy my son. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, what's your opinion?
Well, you know what? I feel pretty damn good. Ace is going to get destroyed, maybe even mauled by his father. But you know what? If you still got some in the tank, you want to have another match afterwards, let's have a real main event. You and me. It's been a long time coming. We've only faced off once. So let's do it.
So maybe going back to you, maybe it's a good thing you didn't. I mean, you're not going to agree with this, but maybe it's a good thing you don't have to deal with the fate of Mr. Judgment and the mood he's in. Because we had him on here a few weeks ago, and the mood he was in, I mean, I would certainly not want to get in that man's way.
Mood or no mood, I'll get in the ring with him.
And he's going to try to create basically the thing that he brought into this world. I mean, think about this. Yesterday, we had on somebody in ACT who's going to wrestle his teacher, basically, in Corey Lee for the XCW championship. And yet, on September the 23rd, Mr. Judgment is going to defend his championship against the person he created. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The person that he created, his seed to the world, Ace Christian, the Blaze. I mean, Mr. Judgment very well may put that seed into the ground. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to be Ace Christian right now, and I said that then, and I'll say it now. And Brandon, I mean, maybe I wouldn't want to be in that spot.
Could always make another kid.
Well.
Not a big deal. That's another 17 more years. Come on.
Well, I'll certainly plead the fifth on that one here, but I'll come back to Mr. Judgment. You will always be a brother, Mauler or not. Appreciate those nice words. Skulls would like to reference my guest last week. Sooner or later, you'll be looking like Vito Fratelli at Bell Collector. Yes, and Vito Fratelli, who wrestled Alexander Hammerstone when he was the NLL champion, and then Alexander Hammerstone was the MLW champion of the world, who, by the way, was number 24 in the PWI 500 last year. Yes,
that's
Thank
awesome.
you for reminding me. Yes. Wrestler Week is going great, and I'm getting better at it. I appreciate that. The Mauler better not think about even coming close to my Holy Grail. What do you want to say?
Holy Grail is going to look really nice around my waist. I hope you're ready.
Okay. Well, okay, fair enough. I mean, I'll come back to that. He's coming for you next Judgment. He says filthery. I wish Brandon could wrestle me instead. False Prophet. The Mauler versus Big Tex will happen in the future. Just be ready. That's something that you'd like out there?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it.
I'll rip your soul from your carcass. Now, I would imagine, I don't know if that's directed toward you or someone else. That's certainly...
I'm sure it's directed towards me.
Okay.
Hey,
well,
listen.
So I know you probably, it's hard for you to process this, but let me ask you an opinion actually on Mr. Judgment and Ace Christian. Obviously, this is the biggest show the company's going to have yet, World War, September the 23rd, main event. If I were to tell you, and tell me your thoughts on this, I'm very fascinated on what your opinion would be on this.
Sure.
So if I were to tell you that your path to getting that DBW World Championship would actually be better off if Ace Christian would find a way to pull really a real rabbit out of the hat. Almost a miracle right now, considering the look and the mood, the feel that Mr. Judgment is in. And he finds a way to reclaim that DBW championship. If I were to tell you that that would actually be a better path for you in order for you to eventually get back and win that first championship, what would you say to all that?
If it would be a better path to let Ace win the title?
It would be a better path for you if Ace Christian wins the DBW title from Mr. Judgment than trying to wrest it from Mr. Judgment's cold, dead hands. What do you say to that? I mean, think about it. Think about the pros and cons for a second. I mean, I know it's a lot to process. You and Ace have had a real personal feud these past several months, but what do you think?
As much as I would like to see Ace Christian win the championship so I could take it from him, make it that much sweeter, I really don't see how he could beat Judgment. He's beaten everybody except me.
True.
So I don't. Plus, he also has Divinity in his corner and Ariel, who has gotten involved the last title defense he had. I really don't see how he's going to be able to overcome this. Really, the odds are against him. That being said, I don't know if it's just me being a glutton for punishment or what, but I would much prefer to take the championship off of Judgment himself. I think it would be so much sweeter. He's never faced me. Therefore, he hasn't beaten me. You can't say that.
Okay, so is it something? So is it something where you feel like, you know what, we haven't been in the ring, it's never happened. I'm confident in my abilities. I'm confident in kind of how intense I have an approach in the ring with. My physicality can kind of match up with it. Is that what you feel almost?
I've been religiously studying Mr. Judgment's matches. I've been watching his moves. I've been watching how he approaches every opponent that he has, even his manager and how she gets involved. I've been watching all of that. I have Nyx to back me up to eliminate Ariel. And I'd like to confidently say that I have an answer to the Judgment Slam. But
okay, well, you know what? Listen, maybe hope springs eternal. Maybe you'll get there. So let's though talk about where you're going to go next. I'll come back to DBW. I'll certainly talk all about that. There's a lot to get into there, and I'll get to more people's comments. But we're going to see you in the ring actually before September the 23rd in a new company that you're a part of called Uprising. The show is called Amplify. We see some other talent in DBW are going to be there. And I was curious for the audience out there that's hearing about this for the first time to talk about that, talk about this company, and kind of what we could expect maybe from you in the ring there on September the 9th, which is just coming up here right now.
Sure, absolutely. So I was approached by Amplified Management, more or less invited to this show. I'm going to be facing a Hall of Famer there, and one half of, I believe it's Panhandle Revival. His name is Doken.
Okay.
He's trained quite a few people, including Van Hansen, who you've seen in DBW.
Yes, I have, sure.
So I'm definitely very excited to get into the ring with him. I feel like it's going to be a pretty good match, and unfortunately for Doken, I am going to beat him. This is a place that I need to prove myself in, and also these are new championships that I could win, so it wouldn't be surprising to anybody if you see the Mauler as maybe Amplified Heavyweight Champion.
Okay, maybe. So do you use motivation about the outcome of the match with Ace to your advantage? September the 9th, new company, still very fresh in your mind. Is that motivation for you coming up?
I think it is. I know we talked previously about me just reflecting on the match and everything, and where do I go from here? And I'm using this as fuel for the upcoming shows, really to sort of get back my wind here, and get some wins under my belt, and really try to start carving paths to championships and get really back on the right path. Sure. I think I've lost sight of that, and I just need to sort of refocus here.
Absolutely. And I think also when you go to a company for the first time, and tell me your thoughts on this, because I do a lot of these and I do a lot of spots with different people when they go to a first time. And I was always told in life that the first impression is the one that people remember the most. It's the one that's kind of the most important because it's the first moment. Here you are right now in a company you haven't been to. You're in a roster. It's very diverse, very eclectic. Got a lot of guys that have pro experience. So you're kind of going in again on another notch on your belt here on your resume for your career. And I mean, talk about that kind of first impression that kind of gives you that motivation here that you're on a big stage. You're on a stage with a lot of different people that haven't seen you. They want to see you maul some people. And, kind of talk about that adage of, first impression is the most important one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree. First impression really sort of sets the tone for everything. Even 2 years ago when I first started going to Renegade Championship Wrestling, it was like that too. I believe I was either first or second match on the card, and really went out there. Nobody knew who I was. Obviously, that's a whole new place. Especially a lot of times, I feel like when you go to these live shows, it's really like casual fans that come in.
Okay.
So they're not really like following up on either new guys coming in or even just people that have been there before. So you really have to sort of go out of your way to get them behind you and get them riled up so that way you again, and then they'll be looking for you. So I'm really hoping at Amplify that I can do the same thing, amped up and definitely wanting more Mauler.
So I have to ask, I mean, it's kind of a weird question because you're in an environment that you've got people that haven't seen you, but they're obviously paying for a ticket. How does that make you feel? Does it make you nervous? Does it motivate you? Because, it's different. Like if you're in the backyard, okay, you're probably wrestling amongst your colleagues in the locker room or the locker yard, whatever you want to call it. And, everybody else that might be a medium, but you're going into an environment where people are probably paying for a ticket or coming in that, haven't seen you before. That can either go and make you nervous or motivate you. How does that kind of for you, the approach?
I don't want it to be like a cop-out answer or anything.
Sure.
At least for me, even when I was still doing the backyard stuff, I had a mixture of both nerves and motivation.
Okay.
And I can't remember who said this to me, but they said if you're not feeling nervous before a match, you're not doing something right. And I mean,
sure.
Every match, whether it be the gauntlet that I just had, or whether it be a title match or an open match or whatever, I always have those pre-match nerves, and I feel like I'm nervous, like I'm not going to do well, but I'm also motivated to go out there and prove that I belong, whatever position I'm at. Like this is what I'm here to do, what I'm here to show you. So I feel like it's like a healthy, not debilitating nerves, but still like I'm amped in the back, and I just want to go out there so I can, show the crowd what I'm here to do.
Oh, no question. I've always been told in life, whether it was anything I ever did, whether it was my political career, whether it's been, my 5 years doing this or anything in life, even from when I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, I was always told if I had nerves, that was a good thing. I mean, I was thinking about the moment. It means I was motivated. So those are good things here. And I do want to get to some more comments. I have a lot of people that have chimed in. I want to give them the opportunity to say hello since we last played some of those comments up. Darth Mauler used the Force. So he's Darth Mauler used the Force. CJ Black says hello. If it isn't old Castelli. So there you go.
Old CJ Black.
Okay, well, we'll leave that at that. Mr. Judgment would like to say, you study the Prophet very good. There is no answer for the Judgment Slam. So he's saying there is no answer for the Judgment Slam.
I already took it once. That was enough. I felt it.
You felt
not going to happen again.
It was painful, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, I was pretty high up in the air, so that sucked.
Okay, well, I'll leave that at that. He says, I am the collector of all things sacred. I am the amplified world heavyweight champion. So anything you want to say toward that?
Amplified world champion, DBW world champion. Wouldn't it just be when we face, I not only beat you for the DBW world's championship, but also the amplified world championship? Wouldn't that just hurt so much more for you? Huh? profit.
Well,
What do you
I
guys
mean,
say about that?
you're coming here to a new place, and he's obviously the man in that company. So, I mean, you're certainly working your way into a place that, again, he's going to certainly have the judgment for. So that's why he's here, and I want to say hello to this individual who you may know of, who says Brandon with a drink. So there you go. Oh, well,
Yeah.
if it makes anybody feel better, or people want to laugh at me to maybe make you feel better, I'm having ginger ale. So, because I've been
Okay.
unfortunately very very sick for days with the stomach virus. He says he was getting cozy with your belt last night, which is obviously one of your big fans. Son of a fill in the blanks. I appreciate that. His belt. If you don't mind, I'd like to play a comment, a couple of them actually, from somebody that's been on the show, and you might have heard of his name. He's a big deal. His name is Jack Delta, and Jack Delta obviously kind of in this picture has a similar hair look than you. It's very, and maybe not so much now, but in that picture he has a similar look. He calls you the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Much love, Brandon. Good luck with Amplified and all the new endeavors coming your way. Anything you want to say to Jack Delta? Obviously, Mr. Delta, kind of the Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man. He's pretty much been to every company there is out there, and he has obviously documented that he is on a, I guess, a retirement hiatus, whatever you might want to call it at this point, due to
Yeah.
some different things out there. Anything you'd like to say to Mr. Delta?
I can't say thank you enough, man. The kind words. I'm nowhere near the GOAT. There are people that are definitely better than me, but I mean, you're just fantastic, dude. All the love to you. He's fantastic. I've talked to him. God, I don't even know how long him and I have been in contact, but it's always just been nothing but kindness and stuff. And I really do hope that if you do decide that this is your retirement, I hope that you, wish you luck in everything else that you do. If it's hiatus, I hope you feel better. Come back, kill it. I want to do all that. Maybe I'll see you in Amplified or DBW, but Jack
Well, that's
Delta,
a company
great,
that obviously,
great
again,
dude.
those are places that, Mr. Delta, we never saw him in. I mean, those are places that, companies that obviously have grown exponentially, especially DBW, as admittedly I'm not as familiar with Amplified, but DBW I'm very familiar with. And
Yeah,
DBW is a company that has grown to where, you guys went from being in the backyard to basically being like a pro wrestling company. You guys got
yeah.
fans, you guys do the shows indoors, and it's really a special thing. And who knows? I mean, listen, who knows what the future brings? I mean, obviously, I wish Jack Delta a lot of love, a lot of respect for what he did out there. Obviously, he came on this show many months ago, and I really appreciate Jack Delta's time that he gave us to Sportswire. He says that's a phenomenal quote. I've heard that before, and it hits every time. I'm not sure which quote he's referring to, but I appreciate whatever it is. And our friends from
Assuming it's the nervous quote.
yeah, the nerves. Yeah, the
I'm
nerves. Yeah, the
assuming, yeah.
nerves. Like I always say, the nerves. If you're not nervous, that's means you're clearly, you're not focused, and it's
Yeah,
always a good thing to be nervous.
definitely.
Our friends from ROVW says that Delta is the GOAT. Yeah, well, we'd obviously certainly agree with about that. But before I get to more comments, I want to plug Brandon actually, because Brandon is on Instagram. You can catch him at Crispy1000. That is CRISSPY 1000. He is also on Twitter as well. You can catch him with his first name and his last name in real life. You can also
Mhm.
find him on Facebook, same place. He's also got a YouTube page, which you can
Yes, I
check
do.
out some of his vlogs, his travels around the different states in the Mid-Atlantic area mostly. And you can also, of course, please follow our friends at Dominant Breakout Wrestling. They're at
Definitely.
Dominating Breakout Wrestling on YouTube. They're also at Dominant Backyard Wrestling on Facebook. They have a group, the YouTube page, that has well over 3,000 subscribers. So please go out there and support them. They have their biggest show yet coming up September the 23rd. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the man behind Sportswire Radio. I am also your voice of all wrestling. And if you are on YouTube out there, please give us a sub on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. I'm on Twitter as well at Thomas Price 2017. I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our content on sportnarium.com/player. We simulcast these shows like we're having one right now with Brandon. I also play your favorite podcast, music, talk, you name it. We give people a chance to hear their favorite shows and other things as well on Sportswire Radio's internet home link at sportnarium.com/player. And also be back not once but twice coming up with our friends over at New British Promotions Wrestling starting tomorrow night, UK time, but afternoon time here in the Northeast with Joshua Kemper. Joshua Kemper, as they call the sociopath. He'd probably get along well with them all. You know, the big guy, and he's got an imposing background, imposing figure, and he also says, hear the call all the time. He's going to talk about his match coming up this Friday, right before Bank Holiday in the UK. And the next day at 9 p.m. British Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be speaking with Dante Durden, who just wrestled Tommy Rocker, their world champion at the last show. And this show coming up, he's going to be in a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match with CJ Banks. So please follow our friends over at New British Promotions Wrestling at NBP Wrestling on Instagram. Also check them out on YouTube and Facebook as well. I want to thank the owner and promoter of that company for continuing to support Sportswire Radio. But we're having a great time right now with Brandon Castelli and talking about.
We're having a great time.
I'm glad you're having a great time. So obviously, let's come back to DBW. Now, I'll come back to the next show in a little while, but You've been in this company for almost 5 years. So how has it felt for you? Leave aside the Mauler, everything you've done in the ring, but to see this company grow to where we have this big show coming up September the 23rd, live audience, live bands, we got sponsors, all these different things. You've seen the company from the humble beginnings. How has that made you feel seeing the company's success these past 5 years?
I couldn't be more happier. I couldn't be more proud.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. It's a glow up. I mean, from the humble beginnings in someone's backyard in Maryland to getting out of there, going indoors into like a garage type situation, and moving to another yard, and now being in Falling Waters, West Virginia. We got a nice venue and everything. We got a great band that's going to play there. We got some sponsors, going to have a huge crowd. Like it makes me so happy. I love seeing everybody succeed, and my friends and everything, and just being able to see that growth and how DBW's really like exploded here. It's so heartwarming to see that.
Has that motivated you maybe to just work harder, do more in the ring, and improve yourself? I mean, how is that carried out for you on an individual level? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I always try to improve myself and do better the next time over. But since this evolution of DBW, I've really tried to bust my ass and do even better each match. Sort of make each match after that that much better, and leave 110, 200% out there and really put my body on the line to give the fans, give management, give everybody the best possible match that I can give, and, for the product as well.
Sure. I didn't get a chance to really ask Havoc this question. I mean, obviously, Mr. Judgment, we had maybe his alter ego. We asked him that question, obviously, his alter ego. I'm trying to be kind of keep the fourth wall kind of separated almost, where obviously the fourth wall of Mr. Judgment be the owner of the company. So it's different when you ask somebody that question who owns the company. But for you, when the company was starting out, those like early years, those early stages, did you ever think it would morph into what it's become? I mean, I'm curious about that as somebody that's kind of grown up with the company. It's different with Havoc because he's been around and, maybe it's different. But I mean, I'm curious for you because you've kind of grown up with this company. Yeah. I mean, did you ever think that the company would be where it is today?
Definitely the thought was always in my mind. I always could see the potential there, and I know the owner Brian, he has big dreams and plans for DBW, and I know ever since when they were in the garage, like after they moved out of the yard and everything, I knew even then he was really trying to plot something here, and being able to move to the venue now, I'm sure he's really happy for it. But I definitely
hope, right? I mean, yeah,
obviously having the ability of, looking back on it now, I could say that too. But even then, just talking to him, seeing how everybody really put out 110%, how he really tried to promote it, like try to up the production and everything, print out posters and stuff. You could really see that he wanted this company to really succeed and and go out there on the grand scale. So being able to see that payoff, it's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely, no question about that. And obviously, all credit goes to him in the vision and sticking with it and believing in it. To have something where it starts to where it did to where it is now. And as I said it then a few weeks ago, it'll only go up from here. This is
Yeah,
just not where
definitely.
it's just gonna, pivot here. It's gonna only go further up, and upward. So there's no question to me that this is not just where it's going to end and kind of fall flat from here. But I mean, obviously, where you've gone in your career and seeing where the company has gone now, I mean, do you think that's helped you in terms of going to different places like VTW, which we'll get into in a few minutes, obviously now amplified? Do you think as the company has grown and people have seen and respected your work, that it's given you also some other opportunities elsewhere? I was just curious about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely will say that it certainly doesn't hurt being a part of DBW and being with it while it expanded and we got this influx of talent, obviously from other places, them reaching out. I could definitely say that. But when I got invited to VTW, that you brought it up, I was actually with Newburgh Underground Wrestling, which is run by Navon McDonald.
Yep.
That is how VTW sort of invited me to their shows then. And that's how I branched out and found DBW as well. But definitely, NUW, DBW, those places have really helped me branch out myself too, where I can go to RCW, where I can go to Amplified, where I can go to ACCW down in North Carolina and places like that. So it's definitely been helpful.
Obviously, you've traveled quite a bit and you've gone to these different states that you probably, I'll safe to say, probably would not have gone to if you hadn't been into the wrestling business. And how does that make you feel going out and traveling to these different places? I mean, it's got to be interesting. Leave aside, how you do in these matches, but what's that experience? Because I know we spoke about this with Chase a little bit when he came on the air. Because obviously Chase has traveled maybe
Right.
a little bit more than you, but you've still gone to some different places. And I'll get to your vlog in a little bit, but obviously you've been to places like obviously Maryland and North Carolina, West Virginia, these different places. And I'm curious, how has that maybe changed you in any way you've looked at things in these experiences?
Yeah, I mean, if I never got contacted by these people, I would have never probably left Rhode Island and been able to experience what I have. But they've definitely changed and impacted me. Just with Maryland alone, that's how I met my fiance. So that definitely
that's a good thing, right? Obviously,
huge aspect of my life there.
Well, that's good. That's obviously,
definitely the best. But meeting so many different people, making new friendships, just seeing parts of America that I maybe might not have really either thought of going to see or just might not have had the time to see. It's just been fantastic, really. And I sometimes the drives suck, but a lot of the times it's nice because you just get to see different things that you might normally not stop to check out.
Sure. They say that a lot in life, that sometimes you don't stop and kind of appreciate the journey, and you've definitely gotten a chance to do that. Now, I do want to come back to DBW in a second, but
sure.
I mean, you have to enlighten me on something, because I was watching your vlogs, and I think I might have asked Chase this question off the air, but I'm going to ask it to you on the air because we're on the air live with you. What is the big deal with these Waffle Houses? Because I was speaking about this with different people, and I'm like, I'm from Brooklyn, right? So like, I don't know what Waffle House. When I was growing up, as a kid, I remember for the first time we had a McDonald's where it was like, wow, we had McDonald's, and it was like asking my parents to like shell out $5 to make sure my brother and I could go out and have a Happy Meal and fries and a Coke. And you got Waffle House, which seems to be like a big deal in a lot of these little middle America towns. And I'm curious, so what is the big deal with Waffle House?
I honestly have no idea what the hype is about Waffle House.
What do they serve? What is this place like? I'm curious because I think
it's like a diner, whatever, but it's like one of the grossest places.
So you're not a fan of it then?
No, I'm not. I don't know why people are. I don't know why Chase is a fan of it. I don't know why he shovels that garbage into him. one of
I
I
don't
want
know.
to say one of the first times I went to DBW.
I knew I liked it. I see people now tuning in. So you got to tell me why this place is
Sure.
terrible. What's wrong with this? Because I want to know.
Yeah, this is why I prefer going to Denny's or someplace like that.
Okay.
But one of the first times I went to DBW, I brought 2 friends to come watch the show, and we went to Waffle House before we went down to the venue.
Okay.
And it was just disgusting. Like the floors were a mess. The tables were just baked in garbage. The cleanest spot we went to was like the bar part, like right where you can just kind of see down the cook line or whatever.
Okay.
And I wish we weren't sitting there because it was awful. I think I made a comment to them and said that the cleanest thing in this Waffle House is my coffee cup, because I just watched them take it out of the
But
dishwasher.
there's nothing in it, right? There's probably nothing.
Well, no, they took it out of the dishwasher and they poured me coffee. And I was like, okay, so this is definitely the only cleanest thing, because everything else, like, they're not picking anything up, like, and the food's not that good either. So
Okay.
If the food was good and the place was kind of like a mess, I could understand maybe wanting to go there. But it's like all the boxes are just checked off of just you driving by Waffle House and not having
another. Basically, you're saying like a fast food place that's overhyped.
It's like a greasy spoon diner. There's really no need to go there.
All right.
If you want to go to that, you could either go to a local diner, or you could just go, I don't know, to Denny's, IHOP, one of those places that are at least a little
IHOP.
bit
Yes, where I'm in Staten Island, there's an IHOP like maybe like 20 minutes by car from my house. So IHOP, I get. Denny's.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a Denny's in New York City, not that I know of, but I mean, I could see Denny's. Denny's, I've heard good things, but I was so curious because I hear all the time about Waffle House. Then wrestlers used to always talk about Cracker Barrel, and I was like, "What are these places?" And I'm like,
I mean, I like Cracker Barrel more than Denny's.
So Waffle House is all in Chase Wakefield's mind and imagination that that's this great place, and maybe it's because he's from the land of NFTs and he's the double B, the Bitcoin billionaire. I mean, is that what it is? You think?
I don't know. I'm amazed at how he's alive with the garbage that he eats. Waffle House being one of them. It's just it's incredible.
Okay, well, you answered my question. You definitely answered because I was like, what is with this place? I had to ask. If I didn't ask, I'll never ask. And I'm like, let me remember it while I got it, because I was watching your vlog and I was watching these different things, and I'm like, what is the deal with Waffle House? And I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, I don't know, but okay, well, fair enough here. I have a ton of comments. I'm going to get to them in a second, but I'm going to ask you something about DBW, because you said something interesting. There's no question that you guys have had an influx of talent over the past several months. Obviously, as the company has morphed into this company, it's basically, to me, like a pro wrestling company. You have fans, you have a band playing, you got sponsors, you got the live audience, all the different things. How is you, as someone that has been kind of like there at the beginning, as one of the cornerstones, as you might want to say, in the company, how have you meshed with these newer talents that have come in? I mean, how has that been like in terms of meshing the locker room with kind of the older veterans in DBW with these newer stars that have come in as the company has grown? What has that been like?
I mean, I never really thought of myself as like a older veteran,
well, maybe not an age.
Maybe I'm being too humble. Maybe
I think you are.
I've never had an issue. I always welcome, the newer people, and it's always exciting getting new guys in there, because it's like, oh my god, we could have so many new matches, like fresher matchups, new feuds, new angles, new storylines, like any of that stuff, and me maybe being a little greedy. Hopefully I could work with all these new guys at some point, because that'd be nice. But they all seem like, really good dudes, really nice dudes. And I haven't gotten a chance to really like talk with everybody, just because it can be pretty hectic.
Yeah, you have a locker room of what, like 30 guys on the roster now, which is amazing.
Somewhere like around like closer to 40, like 30, 35, 36, maybe something like that. But I mean, they're all really good dudes, and obviously from all different places, and they all want to be there, and they all want to make an impact. So it's a really, really exciting time.
Yeah, no question. I mean, obviously, when you go from a company in the early stages where maybe you have less than 10, right, to now where you have a roster of like, I mean, that's a lot in one sense. Obviously, you look at it as a challenge. Well, how do I put everybody on a show. But then you look at it and say, well, that's a
Definitely.
good problem to have, because obviously that means talent can work with you, which is why we see the Thursday Night Thunder Punch shows now, which I
Yeah.
really enjoy, and I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll see more of those again. Let me get to some more comments.
Sure.
I've certainly now made the connection of who this individual is. I love me some ginger ale. I appreciate that. Mr. Delta would like to say, I'm retired the same way Ric Flair is. I am not. It's a hiatus. Yeah, I think I said hiatus or retirement somewhere or another, so that's totally fine.
As long as you're not like Terry Funk.
Well, Ric Flair wrestled last year, and it was, he wrestled with his son-in-law. It may not be his son-in-law much longer, if you believe the internet. So, I'm not going to go down that road because I'm not one to do that. But Mr. Judgment would like to say, speaking of roads, his soul will be crispy as it rots in purgatory. Boy, that does sound maybe delicious if you like that stuff. Well, you're a mauler.
Hey.
Why you might find that amusing. I agree with this person. Can't wait for the 23rd of September, which is not that far away now.
Me too.
We're basically looking at just a little over 30 days from now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This individual who I know now says, by the way, not bad on the intro to the show, but if I really wanted to, I can hold a note. I'm sure you can, but
I haven't done it for me yet.
I'll guarantee you this. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've been doing this, and I've done it for politicians. I've done it for college basketball players, professional athletes, coaches, wrestlers, you name them. I've done it all each time I've been on the air. So I will say that. I will not definitely dispute what you do on the shows if you're that individual, which I kind of was trying to keep you incognito, but that's fine. World War can't come soon enough. I definitely agree with that. I'll be honest. Brandon has helped me out a lot since I'm still very new to this. When you hear a comment like this, walk me through your thoughts.
Well, I really appreciate that. It feels good to hear that. I want to try and give advice and help out and maybe give some suggestions. I know not everybody really heeds it, but it's just really nice to at least know that I could help somebody. So I appreciate that text. That's awesome.
I actually met Brandon at a little company called RCW, which you referred to a few minutes ago. Mr. Wakefield here, the land of the NFT man, says, don't talk smack about the GOAT, which is Waffle House. Forget it. Now, you have to look at it from my vantage point, right? I'm from New York City, right? So I'm this guy in the Big Apple, the biggest stage of them all, and I haven't been to a Waffle House. I don't see. For me, usually, like, if I can go a meal on the go, it's always was growing up was pizza. It was 2 slices of pizza and a Coke. That was it. That was our go-to meal because we're in New York, and I grew up pretty much in basically the mecca of pizza, Brooklyn and Staten Island. So that was for me. We didn't have Waffle House. You didn't need it because you had pizza. So that's just where we come from with that. But you go to Waffle House to see 2 drug addicts fighting at 3 a.m. That's the vibe.
Yeah. No, she's right. I mean, whether it be garbage food or it be 2 people fighting, whether it be employees or people that paid to be there.
Well, if something happened, please don't say it here on Sportswire. Tell it to the authorities, or do tell it to me off the air, because I actually am I have a ceremonial position in New York City. So if you want, contact me off the air, and maybe I'll help you out. But please don't say it on the air, because people will go back and say, "Hey, what happened on Tom's show? What did you know?" So I'm only goofing. It's not supposed to be sanitary at all. That's the point. But I don't want to get sick after eating my food. That there is a point on that. So I would say that. I used to work in a Waffle House. Never again. It was horrible. Just confirm my point.
This is what I mean.
At least you didn't get robbed by an old homeless lady. Well, I mean, I see where I'm in New York City. I literally see homeless all the time, pretty much. So, I mean, that's nothing new. What's up with all these wannabe Italians? Frankie the villain. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's, I'm going to plead the fifth on that because I'm not Italian and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn. But, let's come back here to a little more in VTW, which is another company that I've started to watch a little bit. Obviously, we see some DBW crossover, including yourself. And I'll tell you what really impresses me about this company is that, sure, it's in a yard, but just the editing is so professional. And I believe Mr. Delta's also been a part of VTW in the past. And this is a company, I mean, just the whole look of it, the originality, the commentary, just the feel of the shows, everything else. This is another company to me, like a DBW, that to me is just a really exciting place that has a lot of talent and a lot of versatile amount of talent. And, talk to me about some of that aspects of it in VTW, where I really see another company that's to me kind of at the top when it comes to these different companies that you might want to say, or how can I, maybe as Fletch puts it, kind of these amateur like professional companies or semi-pro companies, because I kind of see VTW very much in that vein. I think you guys, to me, I just feel are a little notch ahead based on the roster and experience, but for a backyard, VTW definitely is very much to me like an amateur kind of pro, semi-pro type company. So talk to me about those different things.
Yeah, so when I mean, VTW's been around since, I know I'll probably get it wrong, but at least like maybe before 2015, maybe a little bit
Okay.
before that, or somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they've had a lot of guys there. And when I was first starting VTW, from what I had been told by the guys that had stayed with me in Rhode Island, that was like that was like the pinnacle of our area. Like that's where you want to go, that's where you want to get to, because they were getting the views, they were getting a lot of exposure, and they still are. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying they fell off or whatever, but that's where it was. And going there too, everybody, they're all so genuine. They're very kind, caring people. They always want to help you. If you have a question about something, or if you're just having issues or whatever, they'll come to you and they'll talk to you about stuff. Or even if you just want to talk to them about, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be wrestling related. They're great people to reach out to. They all they go on the North Carolina, South Carolina indie scene over there. So you can probably see them on like ACW, places like that.
Sure.
And you can even see talent from those places going to VTW. So it's sort of like they've kind of like with how DBW and Amplified to an extent, because guys there kind of come there. And even RCW, we have a lot of guys from RCW that.
Yeah, I think RCW came up in one of the interviews. Maybe it was with the Havoc or Chase. It definitely came up. RCW for sure came up on here.
But like with how DBW has those, VTW also has that. So it's kind of like a central hub almost. And their camera work is fantastic.
Oh my God, the camera work was the first thing. It was like,
yeah,
this is like professional. Like, I mean,
oh yeah, it's great to see. Yeah. But I can never say a bad thing about VTW. They're just great bunch of dudes, great product. Like it's an awesome place to be.
I hope to see you on there very soon.
Oh, yeah.
You can follow VTW on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook at VTW Wrestling. And speaking of different companies and different promotions, I want to say hello to our reigning, defending DKW champion from the state of Ohio. Not too far from you guys out there, Mr. Joe Stone. He says, "Sorry I'm late. How you doing, Tom?" No problems at all. And yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. I mean, would you like to wrestle in different places? Are there goals for you and things like that? I mean, would you like to travel to more places?
Yeah, I mean, I always have like I try to like break it up into two different sets of goals. Like the really, I wouldn't say just set to a year goal, but like ones that I really want for the future. And then I try to put ones for like the year as well. But one of those is to sort of branch out more, get some more exposure, get to new places and meet new people, new companies, and obviously have fresh matches with, some different people. Like I'm going to be facing Dokken, obviously. Not sure what I'm going to have at World War yet, so you'll have to.
Well, we're going to come back to that at the end of the show. Don't worry, we're not. We haven't closed that chapter yet on World War. Don't you worry.
Yeah, no, of course. But yeah, like I've been to. Let's see here. I'm not even going to bother counting, but
a lot of places.
Yeah, I've all on the East Coast. I've been up and down, and it would be nice to sort of branch out and kind of like push. See if I can get to, places like XCW, ROEW, stuff like that.
Well, XCW, I mean, certainly, I could certainly put in a good word for you in that company, obviously, with your look and obviously some Sportswire friends are certainly have been announced that are going to that company in the foundation from the IMF. So certainly, I could pass a word around, obviously, to the good people there in the state of Indiana. And ROEW is in Michigan. I guess it's kind of not too far in away, right, from DBW, Michigan.
No, I guess not. Not really. I don't think. But some these don't have to be specific for 2023.
Sure.
These are just goals for the
Just in
future.
general.
Yeah.
Sure.
My fiance and I, at some point, we're going to be going to Scotland.
Oh, wow.
So
Scotland. That's an
yeah,
interesting place. Now, they say to go, it would be, since the year's almost over, you kind of best to go next year, kind of like in
yeah. No,
like June, July.
that's how we're kind of going to go. But I have friends that are from there and known them for 10 plus years. So to visit them, but also to
Wow.
see if there are any wrestling places over there that I
Well,
can.
actually, you might be in luck. Now I'm thinking about it, there's a couple of different wrestlers that I'm friends with from the UK
Oh,
that are
wow.
from Scotland. So you might be in luck. You
Yeah.
tell me when you
We'll
get
have
ready to
to,
go down
yeah,
there. I
yeah.
actually
We'll have to talk about that after.
we will talk about that off the air, actually, because now you got me thinking, because
All
I
right.
know a lot of people in the UK. So if you're in Scotland, you just
That
let me
sounds
know
perfect.
when you're
Yeah.
going there. Yeah, Scotland. In fact, a small world. I actually somebody I knew, her son moved down there. He actually was a
Oh, wow.
fireman, but his wife was Scottish, and she was a teacher, so got a job down there, and he just basically moved down there.
Oh,
People,
yeah.
I hear it's a beautiful place to visit.
Oh,
I hear.
yeah, definitely. I went down there in 2017 for my friend's wedding. We were there for
Okay.
2 weeks. Just it's beautiful. The people are nice. The scenery's great. It's
Yeah.
a great place. But another goal too, possibly a few years, just to make sure that financially we're all good and everything. But I want to return to New Zealand and the Fale Dojo and resume training down there, so that I can at some point get a contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's
Wow.
definitely my
Well,
end
forget about.
goal.
Listen, you know what though? Then forget about XCW. Forget about ROEW. Let's concentrate on Scotland and New Zealand. I mean, we love XCW. I love Fletch. I love ROEW, and all those guys there, and CJ
Yeah.
Black and Jacob Collins and Jason Storm, the wild card, Mr. Law. But if you're talking about going into a dojo in New Zealand and Scotland, let's move away from that and focus on that. I mean, and I'm sure your better half might agree with me on these things. So I mean,
She might.
that's interesting stuff. And I want to ask you a question on that dojo experience in a second, but I want to say, Lotus, speaking of people who are traveling, my guest this past Wednesday, who is now from Misericordia College out there in Pennsylvania, Mr. James D. Simone. Of course, James, I just had him on like 72 hours before he was going from Long Island to Pennsylvania. I miss you, James, as well. I hope you're doing well out there. And also I have here, this episode is absolutely rock hard. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I'm definitely rock hard.
Yeah, that was once upon a time. But, I actually was curious because since you brought up that you were in a dojo in New Zealand. So what motivated you to go to a dojo, go all the way out to another side of the world? And what did you learn from those experiences that has made you the wrestler and the person that you were? Because that's a very interesting journey there. Maybe talk about that for the audience.
Sure. Okay, so I want to say like late 2018, I was seeing like posts, because I follow Bad Luck Fale on Instagram. I was seeing posts that he had his own dojo and was training guys, and that he was affiliated with New Japan. And I know New Japan, the Tokyo dojo, it's really difficult to get in. Like, it's very exclusive unless you know like one of the higher up guys, or you're obviously Japanese. You can do the tryouts and stuff. It's very difficult to get in through that way. And I know they have an LA dojo, but I don't know, something about the New Zealand dojo was just calling to me. And I was talking with Chase Wakefield, actually, and another one of our friends, Corey. At the time, we were at the Dawn's March, so we had a group chat and we were just talking about it. And I just had brought up, because I looked on the Fale Dojo website and I saw like the intakes and everything. I brought it up to them. I was like, guys, would you want to go down to the dojo, like to train together? And they were both on board for it. So around maybe March 2019, I want to say, I feel like I'm getting these dates wrong. It was like early 2019. I contacted them just to see like what we would need to do. And I got an email from the general manager, and he more or less invited us to come down. And I stayed in contact with him so that I could like just really pick his brain about everything, like the price, accommodations, stuff like that. Well, like what we needed to do. And then from there, I think it was like the September intake of 2020 was when we were supposed to go. Obviously,
COVID.
yeah, well, circumstances with Corey, he couldn't come, and then Chase, the same thing happened, but I still was trying to go, so I was still staying in contact and everything. And yeah, like you said, COVID hit, and I was actually at LAX ready to board for the flight to New Zealand when the flight attendant or whoever it was, she told me that they just mandated like a new policy in New Zealand that night where if you don't have like either a citizenship or a visa or whatever, you're not allowed to enter the country.
Wow.
And like I had been talking to them before, and like obviously before that night, you could show up, like do whatever, you could apply for a visitor visa, like when you got there, so it was fine. And because of that, I didn't have it, so I had to turn around and I put in my application for like the longest visa you could do, and it didn't get approved until like I think maybe like either late 2021 or 2022 or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they had like over 120,000 applicants that they were sifting
Wow.
through. So like I got stuck. I couldn't do anything. So that was great. That was a fun time. But when we finally got to New Zealand, it's a whole culture shock over there. The scenery is beautiful. The time obviously is messed up.
Yes.
Future
Yeah.
down there. So I was actually like 18 hours ahead. So
Yep.
if it was like today's Tuesday, it was
Because in
actually,
Australia, I think it's 14 hours ahead in
yeah.
Australia. So New Zealand's farther away, so it would be 18 hours if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I think it was like 18, 16, somewhere around there. But yeah, so when you're trying to contact people back home, it obviously
That could be interesting.
very difficult. But the weather was fantastic. They don't have air conditioners or anything over there. It was the summer when we were down there, but like you don't even need to worry about that. You just leave the window open and you're fine. But we stayed in the dojo house, where you really get hammered home the culture with like Japanese dojos and everything, where you have senpais, guys that are basically your seniors that you take whatever they tell you to do, you do. You know, you whether you cook for them, clean for them, whatever. Also keeping the dojo house clean and tidy after every meal. You clean the dishes before you sit down and eat. If one of your seniors wants to eat before you, they obviously have to do that. Or if they wanted to take a shower before you, you have to let them and stuff like that. Very, very hierarchy, like respect type thing.
Sure.
And then meeting Fale-san and Tony Kazina and Michael Richards and like meeting those guys. Obviously, it was fantastic meeting them, but also just getting to know them and getting to like not being able to talk to them all the time in a one-on-one setting, but just talking to them. They really are great people and they're very passionate about wrestling, and it was just great seeing that. So being able to pick their brains about even not just like wrestling, just things in general, like life. It was great. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, I find it fascinating because you've been to a part of the world that, in a way, I'm kind of familiar with through different people on Sportswire, because I've interviewed a lot of people around the world, even though I really haven't been to many places in my life because I've always been afraid to fly just from an experience I had. I had an experience as a kid. The one time we went on a vacation and the plane took 3 hours to basically circle back to JF. No, it was LaGuardia. And I've like since then been terrified. You went to
God,
New Zealand. Yeah, so I just haven't done it. But I was curious in terms of the culture. What's the food like there and the people? Because I'd be kind of fascinated about that for the people kind of listening to this. What's that like?
The people, they are so kind and respectful. My fiance and I, while we were waiting, we had a hotel and we were waiting for obviously we had to go to the airport the next day to fly out and everything. These two old women that were there at the hotel, no idea, they had no idea who we were, they invited us over to their table. They just started talking to us, and they just started buying us drinks,
Oh,
talking
wow.
about like how we liked in New Zealand, talking about their family and everything, talking about our family. Like we spent, I don't know, I want to say like 3 or 4 hours just talking to them. And they ended up
Wow.
saying like the next time we go to New Zealand, if we wanted to, we could like stay with them, or they could take us out for meals and stuff. Like it's just they're all like that. They're just
Wow.
fantastic, nice people. And the
Not
food,
people I get in New York usually, because in New
no,
York, it's like
yeah,
they look at you and it's like, get out of here. If you say
yeah,
look at somebody the wrong way. Wow.
yeah,
That is
it's
very
pretty,
fascinating. That's a
yeah,
really fascinating experience here.
yeah,
But
definitely. The
but
food is
obvious
really good too.
yeah, I was curious about the food. The
Yeah.
food, what's the food must be.
I mean, even places like if you were to go to Burger King or McDonald's, it tastes like 10 times better because they don't use like a lot of the stuff that the US uses, like not a lot of processed crap or anything. It's a lot of
Ah.
organic stuff. And Tongan food, uh, oh my God. They all talked about it,
Well, that's why
especially
they call you the Mauler then, because you're really an expert in Tongan food. So that's why they call
yeah.
you the Mauler.
Yeah. Tony-san, he told us about Tongan food, and he was like, this stuff is going to make you violent. And he was not kidding. Like, I was eating that, and I was like, I just want to rip my shirt off and run down the
Wow.
street.
Well,
Like,
okay. Well, maybe
there's
that's
one
the
thing,
trick.
it's like lamb or something like that in this thing called taro leaves, which look like cabbage or like a wrapper.
Okay.
You can eat all of it,
All
but
right. I could see
it
that.
I can't do this food justice. It's fantastic. Like, and I know you can't get it if you're not in New Zealand. So I have just been going crazy since we've come back. Like I want more of that, and I can't get it, and it's just
Really?
upsetting.
You can't get it here. I would
No,
have thought maybe somewhere you would have had it, whether it's like a Thai food place or some type of place. Wow.
if there is some place that has that stuff, I haven't found it, but I think I want it from the source.
Ah, I see. I see. Well,
Yeah.
you learn a lot here on Sportswire Radio. We're learning a lot here from the Mauler, Brandon Castelli, who you can follow on Instagram at Crispy1000. You can also check him out his first name and last name on Facebook and Twitter. He is a part of Dominant Breakout Wrestling, getting ready for their biggest show to date yet, coming up September the 23rd, called World War. He'll be a part of it. They're on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling. Please give them a sub. They're also on Facebook at Dominant Backyard Wrestling. Have well over 600 followers there. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. We're having a great time here with Brandon Castelli. Great guy all around, and a guy that we're definitely rooting for to pick himself back up the ladder here in the DBW World Title picture. Our friend here, D-Lock, says, dropping in a little late. Love you, Brandon. Hope you're doing well. Also,
Love you too, man.
This man is a class act, but he's a mauler and will maul anyone, even little children. Well, I have seen you in some shows kind of get a little violent with the fans. Huge fan of you though. You're a big fan of yours. I'm trying to be very polite. They said that we were their American family, and we can come stay with them whenever, and they still keep in contact with you on Facebook. Oh, what a small world there.
Yeah.
And your fan there says, I do agree. These things are so exciting. He's been trying to get out there for a long time. Yeah, so forget about XCW, ROEW, all of that. You got to worry about the big fishes like New Japan and New Zealand and Scotland. Right. That's where it's at. So, I mean, coming back to DBW here, for the last little bit of the show, then I want to come back to your vlogging as well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what are some of your favorite highlights in your career in DBW so far?
Well, definitely, I would say the show, which was, I believe, Total Domination 4, it might have been 3. I feel like I'm messing up those numbers, but when Chase Wakefield, Graves, and myself, when we formed the Dawn's March and we put Novin in the body bag, I thought that was really memorable for myself because, I mean, the crowd was just... They hated us. They despised us.
Yeah, we spoke about that with Chase, I think, a little bit when he was on the show here a few weeks ago.
And it was just great to be able to work with them. And Graves and myself, earlier in the night, we had a fantastic match for the World Extreme Championship. And I know you spoke with the current World Extreme Champion a couple times. And that championship for myself, that holds a special place because of that match. So, like, I guess I feel like that whole show would definitely be a highlight for me. Um, I would definitely say when I won the Anarchy Championship, because it marked the first championship in DBW that I won. Being given that opportunity was just great, and being able to work with Mike Perillo, Zach Romig, Osrael. Like, I thought that was a really great way for me to start off that reign. And of course, Romig and I have a lot of history in DBW. I've faced him countless times, and I feel like we told a great story in every match that we had. But definitely when I faced him for the DBW Global Championship in the Ironman match, being winning that match, just walking out of that match was
yeah, an Iron Man match, I can imagine.
yeah, but winning the global championship was just, it was a fantastic moment, especially being able to share it with two of my closest friends, Casey James and Caleb Cross, and then forming, or not forming, but making a trio of Chronic. That was great, because I had such a blast as a part of Chronic. It was a great reign. My match with Novin that I had, which I'm not sure if that's aired, so I don't know if that's like one of those lost tapes type situation.
We'll see, like DBW archives, like 6 months from now, the lost match, you and Novin, I guess.
If we can get it, that'll be amazing, because that match.
Well, I'll
that
do it.
match
If we
was
get it
really
out
good.
there, we'll come on Sportswire. I'll watch the match and we'll
Sure.
talk about it afterwards. So we'll do that.
But
Just,
yeah, but clashing with him, getting El Kabonged and getting my head split open and everything. I know it's crazy to be like, wow, that was a great moment, but for me, that was
some guys
memorable.
want to listen. Nicholas Crenson got light tubed last week in IMF,
Yeah.
and I was speaking to him off the air, and I was like, "Oh, did you see you back after the match?" He goes, "No, I won it." And I was asking off the air, Omen and Soldier, I'm like, "Did Crenson really want that?" And they were like, "Yeah, he won." And I'm like, "So some people, like you said, want that kind of,
Yeah.
punishment almost, I guess."
I mean, I keep the guitar that busted me open. I keep it at the house like a display piece. So
Oh wow.
yeah. Um, the match that I had with Chase facing off against Judgment and Novin, I feel like that was one of my better matches. That was the first time that I really, in a capacity, faced off with Judgment and Novin. It was like 100 plus degrees that day. We wrestled like a
Yeah, you
half
guys have
hour.
wrestled in some like really crazy. I mean, watching some of
I
the
feel
old
like I
stuff
had
you
heat
guys did.
stroke. That's definitely shaved some years of my life off. That match
I've
alone.
had heat stroke before, heat exhaustion at least.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, it's not pretty. I had it years ago. I had heat exhaustion, and it took me like days to recover from it. I mean,
Oh my God.
days.
Yeah, it was, the weather was bad, but the match was great. I thought the crowd was really into that, and being able to face off against those guys that I've been wanting to have some match with was it. It was great, and definitely by far the match I had against D-Lock. That was like top 3 matches for me. Not even just in DBW, but like in general. That little mini feud program that we had was great, and then the match, even though we both got a little rocked after, it couldn't be any sweeter. And I don't know if I don't care. It, even if it makes me sound whatever, the stuff that I had with Ace Christian, I feel like those were some of my best matches. The triple threat that we had with Cyrus, and also in the gauntlet, like, these are 2 of my better matches. And yeah, I had a lot of great matches in DVW.
You've had a lot of great moments, so there's no question that you've had a lot of great moments. But I wanted to go back to something very quickly, and you said the first championship you won, and I'd asked this question almost numerous times on the show, and I'll ask it because it's maybe a similar question for you. Did the first title you win still, maybe at that moment, hold a special place in your heart?
Yeah, no, definitely. I would be remiss if I said I have won a lot of championships. So they've all really hold a special place to me, but the Anarchy Championship, that really holds a special place in my heart. I was definitely a little bummed out when they retired the title. Hopefully it will be brought back at some point. but yeah, I still think about it. The match that I had to win the championship was great. The match that I had when I inevitably lost the title, I still look back somewhat fondly on. And the concept was great too. And yeah, I mean, I I miss the title.
Well, I could certainly see. I mean, obviously, especially the first championship that you win in a title that holds a lot of importance there. And I have no doubt that the future, which we'll get into toward the end of the show, will definitely be that. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you at least spend a few minutes on your vlogging, because I've got a chance to
Sure.
watch some of that on YouTube and kind of
Thank you,
talk to
thank
me.
you.
No problem. My pleasure. So talk to me about that. What inspired you to kind of maybe, I guess, document kind of your experiences, whether it's in the wrestling world or, it's
Yeah,
whether you the different travels. I mean, I'm curious for the audience that may not know you or may know
yeah,
you, even that maybe hasn't watched these things in the locker room and such. What inspires you to, become a vlogger and, document these experiences?
yeah. No, definitely. Um, I had started doing it before, like when I first broke out into NUW and leaving Rhode Island and everything. And then I sort of, I don't know if you would say like maybe like losing. I don't want to say losing interest, but other things happened, and I sort of shelved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to bring it back because with the Fale Dojo coming up, I wanted to sort of document everything I could and my journey, especially with my fiance and everything. And I was even telling her it's not really to get like a lot of views or to get a lot of people to be invested in everything. It's more so for myself, for her, for my friends and everything, kind of like document our memories together, because I know everybody's memories sort of fail at some point, and keeping it on a platform like this, we can all look back and we can watch it and we can watch what we did, and our journeys, whether that be with DBW, whether that be going out to a new place that we've never experienced before, going to another country or whatever. Like, that's really what it was for.
I think that's really important. I think that if I would have had a regret in life, there was a period of time that, I didn't do it. Obviously, now, doing this with Sportswire the last 5 years, I mean, there's maybe too much. So
Yeah,
maybe I've made up for it and some. But, I think it's very fascinating that you said that because, obviously we all reflect in different ways. And, and I think obviously, again, as you're with your fiance, do you think she's motivated you in terms of like the vlogs? Because she's like, when I watch these, she's with you in all these different things. And does that motivate you, your other half, in that way to kind of, document and highlight these experiences that you have in the ring, outside the ring, and such?
yeah. No, I would, yeah, I would say that.
Oh, I
If
hope you say that. 'Cause she's probably watching it somewhere and saying, "Well, you better
yeah,
say
well,
yes." I mean,
yeah. Make sure I cover my bases here. No, but
pretty much.
um, no, but she's certainly motivated me, and not just like to document this stuff and vlog it, but also with wrestling. She's motivated me to, you know, put my best foot forward, whether that be with matches, making, promos, coming up with an idea for a match or like tights or anything like that. Like, she's really helped with that. And also just in life in general, I feel like I hit a point in my life where I maybe wasn't really looking out for myself as much or taking care of myself. And
Sure.
she really helped motivate me to take better care of myself, and not even just like with diet or anything like that, just like mental health, and really
Yeah, it's a big
think
thing.
of
I see a
myself
lot of
that I
wrestlers.
matter,
I
that
see.
I
Listen, it's a big thing. I see a lot
yeah,
of wrestlers that I'm friends with that I've interviewed on Facebook, and they're talking about their mental health a lot. The guys,
yeah,
post a lot about it. So it's a big issue. It wasn't,
yeah,
an issue. I'm probably older than you, and it wasn't an issue when I was growing up. There was no people didn't talk about it. It was if like,
yeah,
you felt bad, like, you basically you dealt with it that whole day, and you dealt with it to sleep, and you had to hold it in. But it's a different world now. And I think that
yeah.
helps a lot of people. So I think it's important that you talked about mental health, and you're
Yeah, oh, yeah,
important for
definitely.
that.
I'm a big advocate for mental health, and I know when it comes to men, they don't really share that kind of stuff. They if they're whether they're just feeling bad or if it's an
Sure.
ongoing issue, they don't either they don't want to vent because they're afraid of people maybe mocking them or not thinking of them as
Yeah.
being strong or whatever. And I feel like it takes more strength to open up and to talk to people.
Sure.
You know,
No, it's a big thing. Like like I said, I was just growing up, and like I said, I grew
yeah,
up in
no,
Brooklyn, and it was like there was no there was no thought of mental health. It was like
oh yeah,
okay, like that was it. You dealt with whatever you went through, and you were dealing with it. You held on to it. You held on to it till
yeah.
that was that. So in a way, I
Same thing
think
in
a
my
lot of
family too.
people,
Yeah, that's all the guys just keep it bottled up inside,
yeah,
and
it's
they
just you
wonder
never
why they
thought of
drop
it.
like flies. You know?
That's it. Yeah, a lot of people, it was just like that was the theme. It just,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I've wished everybody well, but let's
yeah,
obviously come back to it near
sure.
the last. I've kind of saved some of the best for last. Now let's come to the present tense. We spoke a lot at the beginning of the show about why you lost the match and you're not a world champion, but we got this big show coming up here, September the 23rd, World War. Now I know you're going to probably be there, the Mauler, Brandon Castelli. So I mean, what do you want to say out there to people? To obviously in that locker room, that what you want to do, because you are the mauler. Now you're gonna want to maul
Yeah,
somebody. So I mean,
I do want to maul somebody.
so you got to talk about that for the audience. And obviously, it's the biggest show yet. You can still make something out of this here. Don't tell us what you're gonna do. Don't tell us who you're gonna challenge. But I mean, you're obviously gonna be there, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be there. It would be concerning if you don't see me in some capacity. So I would definitely say keep your eyes peeled, get eyes in the back of your head. You don't know who I'm going to be looking for. You don't know where my path dictates. And I still believe the DBW belongs to me. Doesn't belong to any of them. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be Roland Havoc, Max's Fatale, Mr. Judgment. It could be any of them. It belongs to me.
You mentioned some different names there, though. I mean,
Good.
so I'd have to ask you, certainly without not signaling anyone out, is there anyone in the locker room that you want to address to? Or is there anybody, is everybody even in the locker room on notice? So maybe that's the way to go about it. What do you think?
I definitely look at myself as an equal opportunity hunter, but mainly ego should really keep an eye on their surroundings because they have a habit of sticking their nose where it doesn't belong.
Now, you've had some problems with ego. Some
Yeah.
may say these past
Yeah.
few months. I mean, obviously they've had success. They've had gold of late. You haven't had gold of late. I mean, they do things differently than the way you've done things differently. I mean, yeah,
Fair
how
enough.
does that make you feel with the ego?
Well, like I said, ego, yeah, they have the tag team championships, the World Extreme Championship, and now the Holy Grail. But look at this. They constantly have a need to protect people, stick their nose in
They
business that
certainly
no
were
concern
protecting
to
your
them.
opponent, the last one we faced off
Mhm.
with in a ring in DBW, and
They
Mr.
went out of their
Christian
way to
himself.
protect him. And look where it happened. What I did to Roland Havoc, that was self-defense. I had no beef with him. What happened at Total Domination, it was just business. I was trying to win the #1 contender championship.
Yep.
That much of a grudge with me, where he had to go out of his way and interfere in my match when I was about to win. I mean, come on.
The tape
guys.
speaks for itself. The footage is out there.
Yeah.
And there's no question that the footage is out there.
You guys are supposed to be heroes, but you're doing stuff like that. You thought I was the villain? Come on.
So are you saying that maybe ego goes about things in a way that really it's kind of like they have egos, basically, pun intended. You basically
I didn't
you
say
basically
anything.
saying that?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Okay. I was curious. But obviously you've got some history there, and obviously they would be somebody that you would like to see if it's not you. Obviously, if it's not you, though, you would certainly like to see maybe some things done to them. Although I kind of think that Divinity, though, may have some plans for them. Do you think, obviously, we kind of saw how the show had ended
I did.
at the last show? I mean, maybe Divinity feels the same way you do.
Hey, I mean, I might not see eye to eye with Divinity, but on this matter, we're on the same page. And mutual destruction of ego, that sounds pretty good to me.
So would it be fair to say then, before I get to more comments on this, because I knew as we get toward the end of the show that I knew I had something I was saving for
Yeah.
the end of the show. Do you think then it would be fair to say, hypothetically, Mr. Castelli, that ego is going to get some repercussions for what they've done to you and maybe defending others? Do you think that maybe on September the 23rd that they might see some of their just desserts?
Well, I'm not going to give away everything, but
Sure.
I would be lying if I said that ego was going to get away scot-free at World War
Well, it's called a world war
for
for
a reason.
something, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would even want to say then, basically, to kind of parcel this here, as we kind of have figured out here a little bit, and tell me your thoughts on this without telling me anything particularly.
Sure.
That September 23rd, coming up here at World War, Brandon Castelli, the Mauler, is going to play a big role, you think, on this show in some form or another? You think that's a possibility?
I think you might be in the right ballpark there, Tom. I think I think we can swing that. I think we
Now,
can do that.
I got a lot of comments here about this. I
Sure.
knew that I was poking the bear here. So let's go here and do a few things. First, comments I missed here. Obviously, Mr. Judge would like to say, first of all, the Prophets of the Netherworld versus the Dawn's March was a great match. Absolutely. Mr. Omen Black is going to say something about ego in a second. I'm going to get to Mr. Black last because I'm going to bring up here this comment here. Your girlfriend interfered against Ace. Roland Havoc merely leveled the playing field. Now, this individual, I'm not going to certainly do anything to kind of break the fourth wall, but apparently this individual might have had a memory toward what Mr. Havoc had done or had been done to him.
I think
your girlfriend.
I think their memory's a little bit warped there.
Okay, you want to talk about it?
She acted of her own accord. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I came out there myself. I told
Right.
her she didn't need to interfere. I had it handled. Now she knows well enough to get in there, do what needs to be done. Roland, for whatever reason, went out of his way to interfere in this match and completely ruin and derail everything. I don't know about you, but if I'm not supposed to be out there, I'm not going to get involved. You just could not sit there and just let me do what I had to do, huh? It ate you up that much that you had to come out from the crowd. You wouldn't even let me see you coming. You attacked me from behind.
Interesting.
It ate you up that bad that she eliminated you from the Rumble, huh?
Now, I would like to bring up Mr. Black's comment because for a few reasons. Mr. Black would like to address ego because he says, funny, I have a problem with some people in the DBW locker room. He said EB, but because it's Omen, it's his show, I'm going to say I know what he's talking about. And
Sure.
you just mentioned these little chumps' ego. You tell them that the foundation is coming for them. And he also wants to let you know, hey, Brandon, if you got a problem with ego, then you should join up with the foundation. So that's because they're going to, it looks like, have maybe some type of war, maybe, if I'm hearing correctly. I don't know if that's the case or not. I mean, but obviously I'll let those individuals speak for themselves. But obviously Mr. Black has certainly addressed and aired out his grievances here toward ego, which I know you feel the same way. So, I mean, you have any thoughts on that?
I do. Hey, I mean, you have a problem with ego. You pretty much just told them yourselves. So I feel like I don't even need to announce it. I think I got a good feeling that they're watching this pretty closely.
You think so? Yeah, you think so?
Well, I got a good feeling.
Well, Omen, for whatever reason, wants to say, even though your bedroom looks like the room of a 2-year-old, but hey, I don't judge little buddy. I mean, it doesn't look like a 2-year-old. Is maybe the background?
I'm in a living room, and
it looks that bad.
Stickers on the wall, so.
Oh, I don't think it looks that bad.
Yeah. You want me to join the foundation so badly, and you're going to say stuff like that? I mean,
well, this person wants to bring up here, and I don't know if I should say this enough because I have something up my sleeve here. And he says, even Cyrus the It Factor. And then he says, tell us. Then he also wants to go on and mention Divinity. But then this individual also wants to bring up Omen. Who else do you have a problem with? Do tell. Now, before I let you address some of this, I'd actually like to announce on the air. Now, I know I had mentioned Mr. Christian's going to be in your chair 8 o'clock Eastern time, 2 weeks from today, but the following week, September the 11th, I believe a little after 9 o'clock Eastern time, speaking of it factors, I'm going to let you know Cyrus is coming live to Sportswire Radio. So apparently you've gotten the green light to speak with the it factor himself. And, obviously you might have a thought on that. But some of these other comments, I mean, do you have any problems with Cyrus, the it factor, first of all, these days? Any problems with him right now?
I don't have any issue with him. I feel like we settled our thing in that triple threat match.
Yes.
He inserted himself into it. He gave me an ace, pretty decent fight there. So I mean, we walked away afterwards. I don't have any problems with him.
Okay.
So
interesting. And obviously, I know he's got a long history of Mr. Judgment. So I'm sure Mr. Judgment, he got a long history with him.
Hey.
That's going to be a doozy. That's going to be a doozy. Oh, boy.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
They're all doozies, but that one's going to really be a doozy, especially with the history that those two individuals have. This fan of yours would like to say she's just trying to give the win to who deserves it. So that's, whoever that might be. Here, I think we answered that here. Now, this individual who might know the individual name Roland Havoc, our World Extreme Champion, says, "Liar, you've gotten involved when you weren't supposed to be. Contradict much?"
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Omen would also like to say a few things that he's coming for Jackson Sabre, Rob Steele, and Sean Newman. That's who he's coming for. So
I don't know who two of those are, but I know who Jackson Sabre is.
Yes, well, I'll certainly let those comments lie and certainly let those individuals decide for that. So is there anything else that you'd like to say before the 23rd of September coming up that you might want to address to anybody else out there in DBW before I get to a couple of more things here before we sign off tonight?
I feel like a lot of when I lost to Ace that I was just going to fizzle out and that I wasn't going to be a threat anymore. But I feel like I'm even more dangerous now because I'm wounded. I lost what I wanted, so I'm even hungrier than I was before. So whoever's left, I'm coming after you, and I am going to take what's mine.
Well, you are a mauler, right? Isn't that what a mauler that's what they're supposed to do? So I mean, you're almost like some of the fishes or some of the sharks I saw in Meg 2. They were maulers. They were mauling all the different people that got in their way, and even some of the bad people.
That also reminds me, Jim. You know what you did, Jim?
Yeah, how's Jim?
Yeah, Jim. This ain't over. All right. What you got the last match, that's nothing compared to the next time I see you. So you better not be there. I swear to God. Whether you're in the crowd, whether you're an official, I'm hunting you down. All right, Jim? You know what you did. You cost me.
So is it safe to say that maybe the number one target is Jim?
I don't want him to be upset if I say he's not the number one target, but he's definitely around there.
Top target then. Okay, not me. We'll figure it out.
Call him collateral damage. This is World War. We're looking at casualties.
Well, I hope that's going to be. Listen, I hope we see more damage in that movie than the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie years ago called Collateral Damage, because it was a big bomb. It was really not one of my favorite movies. So hopefully, I see some more damage from you and whatever else.
Sure,
and collateral damage.
It won't be a box office bomb. Don't worry.
All right, good. Because I've seen a lot of box office bombs these days. So hopefully,
I have too.
Oh, you have? Oh, yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Interesting. You're an interesting fellow. Okay, well, I'll leave that comment there at that. But I always like to ask before I get to closing thoughts here. Sure. I always like to ask my different guests they have a one or two moment that stood out most in your career. And I know you've got a lot going on. You've done a lot of different things. So I'd be curious for the audience out there. Is there one or two moments that stand out most in your career so far?
Definitely when I made my way to RCW that first time, I wrestled Caden Phoenix.
Sure.
The crowd had no idea who I was, and they rallied behind me. And it was the first time not really knowing people there and them not knowing me and having the loudest reaction that night. It just it still gives me chills to this day how these people who had no idea who I was, they wanted me so desperately to win, and they got behind me like almost instantaneously. It was crazy. Like I still don't know how I managed to do that. um, and then I mean, I have plenty of moments in DBW, and I really
Sure.
I don't want to do any misjustice by not saying any of them, but my return, because I did take a leave of absence while I was going to New Zealand and everything, but my return to Total Domination and being a part of the Rumble and everything, just the reaction that I had, and also having my fiance be with me as my valet, and then also getting involved. That was a great moment for me, because I was so proud of her for being able to do that, and the crowd, they love her more than they will ever like me. I don't know what the hell I'm not doing, like what I'm doing wrong or whatever. I'm very happy for her, but it's like, damn, what the hell?
Well, you're the Mauler, and people look at her, and obviously she's attractive. And in wrestling, there's always, listen, Macho Man Elizabeth goes back, psychologically. There's sometimes you do see that. Listen, Mark Merrow and Sable. I mean, you can go down the list in wrestling history, and you see those types of scenarios where you kind of the Jeff Jarrett and Deborah. I mean, you can go down the list. Sometimes that happens. But did she always want to be into wrestling? Just kind of curious, because it's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah. No, that was the thing. I mean, she's watched it here and there.
Okay.
And us meeting was solely by chance too. She almost didn't want to go. Her cousin convinced her to come see the show. And then we met and everything. And talking about it, I wanted her to be a valet, and I was like, would you be comfortable with it? And she was nervous. But she took to everything that I showed her. We went over everything, we practiced everything, and she is getting better and better each time. And I feel like she might not have wanted to do this in the beginning, but I feel like this is something that you wouldn't even know that she didn't want to do,
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I'd be honest. I mean, I was obviously watching as in the last few shows she's gotten involved, in the ring. I would not have known. I just thought that would be fascinating if she was into wrestling and actually wanted to do, because obviously there are some people. I mean, look, obviously Stephanie and Triple H, and she was basically born into wrestling. So that,
right? Yeah, of course.
Sense.
Yeah.
But in your case, I was curious what that dynamic was, because obviously it's always people get gravitated when they see a guy and a girl, and it's his girl. They get obviously kind of fascinated with that in wrestling. Because, again, there's only so many times that comes. So I guess obviously, it certainly works to your advantage, I think, and it also maybe strengthens things. And I think that's, really cool. And God bless you on that, outside the ring. And I hope it works out for you. So I want to ask you this last question. I could ask you thousands of questions, but I think I've had enough with you. And by the way, I actually like that you've grown your hair a little bit this way. Since you first started, you had the short hair kind of look, and you kind of have almost like that new wave look. You got like a new wave, like Robert Smith, kind of the Cure look almost. So I hope you keep that look. But it's good on you. I'd say keep it. But thanks. I would like to know, for the audience out there, do you have any final words that you might want to say to anybody in DBW before the 23rd of September? Biggest show in the company's history. Anything you want to say to anybody out there? Your final words before the 23rd of September.
Well, what else can I say about this? There's going to be casualties. There's going to be blood. And I feel like some dogs that needed to be put down a long time ago are going to get taken out behind the shed, and they're going to get put to sleep.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, this sounds like there could be more damage in this movie than Expendables 5, Equalizer 3, all the big summer movies that are still left. Those movies coming out in the month of September, well, they all pale into comparison to what the Mauler, Brandon Castelli, does. September the 23rd, World War, because I promise you, in addition to Mr. Judgment and Ace Christian for that DBW championship, you are going to see a slew of stars that are going to be there, and they are going to enact collateral damage that we have not seen yet in any movie. Forget about what we saw in John Wick 4. Forget about what we're about to see in Equalizer 3. Meg 2 weeks ago doesn't even pale into comparison, because what we see the likes of the Mauler, Brandon Castelli do in that ring, or even outside that ring, stay tuned. And that's why you're going to want to follow Dominant Breakout Wrestling, and on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, Dominant Breakout Wrestling on Facebook, and send you there for more details, because I promise you this is going to be a show we're going to be talking a lot about on Sportswire Radio. We've already got confirmed Ace Christian's going to be in your chair. He's going to say a lot, I'm sure, in responses. September the 5th, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Also announced a little after 9 o'clock on the 11th of September. Cyrus, the It Factor himself, and he's going to be talking, I'm sure, a lot. And who knows who else is going to be in store before the 23rd of September, but I promise you, that's why you want to keep it tuned into Sportswire Radio. It has been a tremendous honor, in all seriousness, to have you. You are a very impressive man. You have done a lot in the ring, outside the ring. I'm definitely a fan of your work. I say keep doing what you're doing. Maul some people. I want to see you do some more. I love the mask, by the way. I love everything you do out there in the ring. I really appreciate it. You're a special guy. I think you're going to do a lot of bigger things out there in the world. So I want to give you, though, the opportunity for some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, say?
Sure.
I turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
Tom, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate having this platform and also being able to talk with you about not just DBW, but everything. It's been fantastic. Everybody, you do not want to miss World War. You need to watch it. If you can't be there, you got to watch it. If you don't watch it live, you got to watch the playback. This is a show that you can't miss. This is tumultuous. This is the biggest show of DBW's frigging the whole company.
I think it's going to be one of the biggest shows of the year in wrestling. I think it's going to be one of the biggest in wrestling, not just DBW and wrestling.
Yeah, this is the pinnacle of wrestling, not just for DBW, but for everything. You need to watch it. You need to be a part of it. You need to share it. You need to tell everybody in your family to watch it, because this is where it's at. DBW is where it's at. It's only going to grow. It's only going to get better. And you need to hop on the train before it leaves the station. And I'll leave one last little plug here for me.
Plug anything you want.
Castelli Saloon on TeePublic. I got a bunch of shirts up there, merch, anything you want. Any like mug, sticker, pin, whatever you got. I got it on there. Anything helps. This isn't me begging. This is me pleading. But World War, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss me, because then I'll find you wherever you're at. I'll kick down your door and I'm going to maul you.
Well, I'll tell you what. He's definitely somebody that I would definitely be very afraid to get in his way inside the ring or outside the ring. He definitely looks like a villain I could see on my screen coming up in an AMC movie theater, albeit very, very soon. Hey. But all kidding aside, you also want to follow him. I'm going to plug your social media so we can find out some of this merchandise. Crispy1000 on Instagram. You can also check him out, his first name and his last name in real life on Facebook and Twitter. He is also on YouTube as well. I believe it's Crispy1000 as well. So
make sure for TikTok as well.
So make sure you follow him on TikTok. So one more time, on Instagram, Crispy1000, YouTube, Crispy1000, TikTok, Crispy1000. On Twitter and Facebook, it's his first name and his last name in real life. Go follow this man. Go support him. Buy a shirt. I will make sure I will do something for him when we get off the air. And I will most importantly send you probably something that's worth a lot more than me buying a shirt, is some contacts of some individuals that can help you in your journey.
Greatly appreciate it.
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Get off the air, and I'll get one more comment in before we say sayonara, which you probably know what that is because you go to different places. They're great shirts, great quality, beautiful designs. I'm sure I will agree with all of that. Congratulations, my friend, on all the success.
Thank you very much.
I have no doubt that September 23rd will start the revenge tour of the Mauler, Brandon Castelli. And I have one more comment here, actually, one more I'm going to get in here, because I have somebody that I think is going to be an upcoming guest very soon, early next week. And that's an individual named Justin Parsley, who's going to also be in the ring for our friends over at XCW coming up in SummerMania 18 this Thursday against Fletch.
Big fan of that guy.
Yep. He says, good luck with DBW. God bless your work, Tom. Well, you know what? I think, Mr. Parsley, I heard from a little birdie that we're going to see each other real soon. It might even be as soon as Monday afternoon on Sportswire Radio. So, Mr. Parsley, stay tuned. We might be having a conversation because apparently management has said that it might be time for you to come to Sportswire. So great stuff there. And also Mall. So Mall. He's got the look. I'm telling you, he's got the look. He's going to maul somebody. Well,
Oh, yeah.
congratulations on all the success.
Thank
I
you.
have no doubt, again, as I said prior, the Revenge Tour will start for you September the 23rd. I'm also looking forward to seeing you September 9th at Amplified there at Uprising. So I'm looking forward to
Definitely.
seeing you there. And that show's going to be a great show. So VTW maybe in the future. And obviously, we'll talk more about the other side of the world in a few minutes. So thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
I definitely want to speak with you very soon after the fallout of September 23rd. Keep up the great work.
Thank
And
you.
I can't thank you enough. And we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we were here with the Mauler, Brandon Castelli, who is going to be a part of things on September the 23rd, and the biggest show yet for Dominant Breakout Wrestling World War. We'll see what the future leads for him and more. He is also going to be a part of September 9th show for Amplified called Uprising. Stay tuned for more details on that. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, the man behind Sportswire Radio, and I'll be back here tomorrow afternoon, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:15 p.m. British Standard Time, with Joshua Kemper. And I'll also be back here Thursday, 9 o'clock British Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, with Dante Durden. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. But until then, thank you, everybody. Good night, good afternoon, and good morning from your voice of all wrestling, the Reverend Tom Bryce, on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire